chutu idam da ewa mibi gebi ko pa je ka jun chile je zum teru na le mi se bum dungi zage je di ju mi se ma so sabi debu True Gabi mi se beki Sechi ma duki gabo mi se mi bekewi Sonam miru True gabo tako na lo chambi sem chebe Geru gawe
Good morning and a warm welcome to the launch event of the Accelerator Lab UNDP Bhutan. I'm Sonam Choki from the innovation team. I will be the moderator for today's event. Before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. We are live on Zoom as well as on Facebook. I'd like to first invite UNDP resident representative Azusa Kubota to kindly give her welcoming address.
Good morning. I hope I'm audible. Honorable Lempo Lokna Sharma, Minister of Economic Affairs, Dasho Secretary, Dasho Chairperson, officials from the Royal Government, representatives from civil society organization, development partners, colleagues from the UN, heads of academic institutions, and youth of Bhutan. Very, very good morning once again. And I hope you and the family members are doing well during the difficult times of lockdown. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to join the nation in thanking frontline workers for their hard work. Today, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the official launch of our Accelerator Lab in Bhutan. You must be wondering what the Accelerator Lab is. Perhaps a more relevant question is, why the lab? The speed of change happening around us has been accelerating before our eyes. The lives that our grandparents' generation led are substantially different from the lives we're leading, obviously. But perhaps a more significant insight is that the difference between our generation and the generations to come will be even more stark. At the same time, the COVID pandemic confirmed that we live in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, in short, VUCA world. A new concept that is emerging is called BANI, B-N-N-I, brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensive. We're increasingly confronted with stubborn economic, social, and environmental problems that are highly complex, which cannot be solved by a single solution. In order to navigate and thrive in this fast-changing VUCA and BANI world, a new set of capabilities will be required. These capabilities include abilities to anticipate, be agile, adapt, and the systems that are resilient and withstand shocks. Lessons from the COVID pandemic are living proof of this. States that will emerge strong from the pandemic saw signs of change early on and made swift adjustments without hesitation. The concerns shared by His Majesty the King during his address on the 113th National Day last month directly speak to this reality. If Bhutan does not keep up with the pace, we might risk being left behind. The Accelerator Lab, therefore, aims to help accelerate the rate of learning to keep up with the pace, while also fast-tracking the achievements of Sustainable Development Goals. The COVID crisis has created a visible dent in the progress towards SDG attainment so far. For the first time, the Human Development Index is regressing. The 21st century development challenges require a fundamental shift in how we design and implement development solutions, away from merely tweaking our realities to creating radically different futures. With the ongoing pandemic, the urgency to transform systems has reached new heights, along with the need to boost SDG progress during the decade of action. But we cannot achieve this radical shift if we do not see ourselves and each other as part of those systems first. It is our sincere hope that the lab will serve as a platform for all of us to reflect whether the current approaches, systems, and mindsets designed to address the 21st century problems are adequate, and whether we are embracing innovation fast enough. Innovation has now become the buzzword, and it is often associated with technology. But in Bhutan, UNDP Bhutan, we see innovation as doing things differently. It is a mindset, a way of thinking beyond the present and into the future. For innovation to thrive, there's a need for policies and incentives that encourage fail-safe culture, where ideas are tested and experimented before significant resources are invested in a single solution. Indeed, many governments around the world have established a facility to encourage innovation in public service delivery. And this type of risk sharing and experimental approach has become even more relevant and important in the wake of fast shrinking physical space faced by public institutions during the COVID crisis. Cognizant of the challenges we face in today's world, in 2019, UNDP established a global coalition of 60 accelerator labs covering 78 countries in order to deepen the understanding of the broader system that leads to the challenge at hand, and to adopt a collective, innovative, and an experimental approach towards identifying solutions. This year, UNDP Bhutan is joining a network of 32 additional labs, making the total number of labs to 92, serving 116 countries around the world. This has been made possible thanks to our investors, notably the German Corporation and Qatar Fund for Development. I'd like to remind all of us that the idea around the lab is not new to Bhutan. Before formally joining a network accelerator lab, UNDP spearheaded the establishment of its innovation unit, which initiated system-based approaches to youth unemployment and waste management issues together with NEC. We also began discussions with the Royal Civil Service Commission on public sector innovation in 2019. So the lab is building on the foundation built by the innovation team and focusing on 3 frontier challenges. First is to bring about the system approach to overcoming barriers in the youth unemployment landscape. The second is applying behavioral insights, interventions in waste management. And lastly, working with wider stakeholders, including grassroots innovators, to build an inclusive innovation ecosystem in the country and to nurture the culture of innovation. the COVID crisis has made all of these challenges ever more critical and pressing. One of the biggest challenges for the lab will be to ensure that ideas do not remain as ideas. Ideas that are tested and experimented must be scalable to ensure the attainment of a truly transformational change. The changes must resonate with the systems of today, tomorrow, and future. One way to future-proof solutions is through effective collaboration with citizens themselves. We therefore have the responsibility to collaborate and co-create with the people whose voices and needs have direct inputs into the process of understanding the challenges and designing and experimenting solutions. We in UNDP Bhutan are extremely grateful for the opportunity to initiate the Accelerator Lab with your full ownership and commitment at this time of the COVID crisis. I cannot think of a better timing to introduce the lab. The success of the lab will be determined by how much you as stakeholders in Bhutan embrace the concept and make use of this. It is your lab after all, and we in UNDP are committed to working with all of you to create Bhutan that is resilient and prosperous, where young people of Bhutan see opportunities for their bright future. Let me thank everyone once again for joining us as we mark this critical milestone. I'd like to particularly thank Honorable Limpo and Dashos for sharing valuable perspectives, and also like to celebrate the local innovators who have participated in a week-long innovation idea challenge, an online ideathon campaign which led to this event. We received 62 ideas in just 7 days. I must say it was not an easy task to identify top 3 who will be sharing their ideas today. And I'd like to make a special mention of a young innovator, the youngest one, the 12-year-old student, Jimmy Nobudoji, who has put forward the idea of setting up a cycling gym machine to power up nearby households. This simply shows the existing fertile ground for innovation in our communities. And I hope they will continue to drive the innovation ecosystem in Bhutan. Each one of us is a catalyst in taking Bhutan's innovation journey to the next level. I look forward to closely working with all of you to help bring in partnerships and networks that are vital for innovation to flourish. Kadinchela Tashidere, stay safe and well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ma'am Azusa, for setting the stage. I now have the honor to invite His Excellency Limpo Loknath Sharma, Honorable Minister of Economic Affairs, to give his opening remarks.
Kunzang and good morning. I'm Ajusa Koboto, Resident Representative of UNDP, RCSC Chair, UNHC Secretary, also Dr. Tshering Wangmo, Mrs. Kezangom, Jergen and UNDP team, heads of UN agencies and development partners, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year to everyone present here and listening or watching this innovation bonanza. Thank you, UNDP, for inviting me and bringing this innovation chapter to Bhutan through your Accelerator Lab network. I'm excited that the Accelerator Lab is being introduced at the right time and occasion. 2020 has been an extraordinary year in the recent history of our generation. Challenging, thought-provoking, moment for introspection, and possible new opportunities paving way for what the future would be. Well, we all live in the world of asymmetry of size and scale and development levels. Last year has shown that we live in a more global village than ever due to the interconnectedness of countries. Global trade has brought immense prosperity, as has also enabled the rapid spread of public health challenges due to seamless flow of travel of billions of people for business and leisure. We are all in this together and must resolve to be united to overcome the economic challenges brought about by the global shutdown of 2020. Amidst this shutdown, and as we introspect and retrospect, the way forward for Bhutan to build better and resilient is the path of innovation. And in line with the ongoing development of the Agenda 21 framework. For us, with limited resources and development constraints, innovation is the pathway to endless knowledge and creativity. Innovation is the new resource of the 21st century. As the Economic Affairs Minister, I'm already looking beyond the horizons of recovery, setting right the youth unemployment and stimulating young minds to innovate and create their own future, the future they long for, the future they would like to be entrepreneurs. The worst will soon be behind us and a recovery will be underway. The pandemic has caused supply chain disruptions, exposed market imperfections, and host of other socio-economic issues that are challenging the environmental ways of doing business. We must quickly move to a newer arena of approaches and solutions for our society. It's not easy, but from small beginnings made by our young entrepreneurs, we continue to witness the beginning of innovations in creating digital solutions and building back from the disruptions. Now is the time to overhaul and transform our systems. We have seen our youth develop e-commerce portals, engage in data mining, build drones, develop electronic apps, and many more innovations. This is truly encouraging, and we hope the innovation initiative of UNDP will further support the development of our country's innovation potential. In many ways, the pandemic is also intertwined with global environmental issue of climate change. Therefore, as we seek to address the socio-economic consequences of the crisis, we need to ensure that the economic stimulus packages and recovery plans are both green, inclusive, and create value within the country. The recovery plans will have to be defined by its potential to create opportunities for income and jobs, and at the same time, we'll have to be mindful of our environmental goals. I hope the innovation team here at UNDP will assist us in amplifying our energies towards innovations that help turn environmental challenges into green growth and business opportunities. To conclude, let me wish the Accelerator Lab team the best in their endeavors and laying out the initial foundation for the innovation ecosystem. I would like to thank UNDP once again for this timely initiative and look forward for potential partnerships to accelerate greener recovery programs. I would also like to request cooperation from all other agencies, stakeholders, and young minds of this country to come forward and be part of this unique potential to bring about transformational changes. Remember, if there is a will, there is a way. Believe me, we are non-stoppable. Thank you for your attention and Teshidele.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for sharing your thoughts on the event. Moving forward, may I request JNHC's Secretary Dasho Thinenamge to give his remarks.
Kuzambo, good morning, Your Excellency, Honorable Minister, Ministry of Economic Affairs, Tashokarma Hamdoji, Chairperson, Royal Civil Service Commission, Madam Azusa Kubato, Resident Representative, UNDP, heads of UN agencies, other development partners, UNDP Innovation Team, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to join Madam Azusa to thank Honorable Lempo for gracing this very important virtual launch of Accelerator Lab of UNDP Bhutan in spite of your very busy schedule during this lockdown. Also, I would like to thank on behalf of the Gross National Happiness Commission and the Royal Government of Bhutan to Madam Azusa Kuboto and the UNDP Bhutan for bringing the Accelerator Lab to Bhutan. With the launch of the UNDP Bhutan Accelerator Lab today, we join 91 other locations supporting 115 countries globally. The launch is timely, particularly during these very challenging times when conventional solutions are not enough to address complex problems. We need innovative and dynamic solutions which can adapt to changing situation at the shortest possible time. As all of us have seen, the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated how vulnerable we are. It's been almost a year where many of our children continue to learn from home since they are not able to attend classroom education. Many people have been displaced from work due to the pandemic, depriving them of income and livelihood. Families can't get together to celebrate happiness or share grief. So how do we ensure our children continue learning while safe from pandemic? How do we keep our economy going while ensuring health safety protocols are not breached? How can people continue to earn their livelihood while staying at home even during lockdowns? We need innovative planning and policies to adapt and address complex issues. The launch of the Accelerator Lab today provides huge pool of knowledge and skills network dedicated to rethinking issues from a systematic lens and hopefully come up with a better approach to investing resources. Already, Bhutan has partnered with Accelerator Lab UNDP to understand the youth unemployment, partnering with unconventional partners such as the youth themselves to understand the complex issues of unemployment, understanding not just the structural issues, but also considering individual aspirations, values, and pain points, and trying to understand the underlying patterns of the problem. Together with the National Environment Commission, the Accelerator Lab is undertaking a social experiment on waste management issues in Thimphu. The social experiment will consider the softer aspects, interaction of individual with the waste management components, and to nudge people towards waste segregation behavior. The social experiment complements the waste flagship program. GNHC looks forward to partnering with UNDP to use the Accelerator Lab facility in exploring innovative ideas and processes for doing business. We are hopeful that the Accelerator Lab will help us come up with effective and efficient innovative solutions. The 5-year plans have helped Bhutan make significant socio-economic progress over the last 6 decades. Issues was challenging, but solutions were quite straightforward. It was about building roads, schools, hospitals, and agriculture. However, today the issues are very complex and challenging, and we need innovative policies and planning. I'm looking forward to take the benefits of the Accelerator Lab in Bhutan to help us formulate plans and policies that are effective and innovative. So thank you very much, and Tash Dalal.
Yes, thank you, Dasha, for your support. Before we move into the next agenda, we would like to run a poll. We have 2 questions on the concept of innovation. We will be giving you 30 seconds to answer. So I'll be launching the poll right now. If do you see the poll? If you could choose any of it. Plus, we asked, what does innovation mean to you? So most of them have answered, almost 38% of participants has answered creativity, while 37% have answered doing things differently. And the next question was, what do you think is hindering innovation from taking place in Bhutan? So many of them have answered, almost 32% of them have answered platform slash forums to share ideas. And almost 24% have answered policies and regulations, followed by capability to innovate, and and financial resources. So I'll be sharing the results. Yes. Now I would like to invite Accelerator Lab team to present. First, can I invite Ma'am Suki Zangmo, who takes up the head of exploration role, followed by Ma'am Tshering Wangmo, the head of solution mapper, and last but not the least, Ma'am Kunzang Wangmo, who is the head of experimentation.
Thank you, Sonam. So, as a part of a globally integrated network, each lab draws inspiration from each other, working out loud, sharing learnings on a daily basis. We are constantly connecting with each other in real time, all the 92 of us, through weekly call-ins, through sharing reflections and blogs. We are 5 in the team, and I'm the head of the exploration. And as the title suggests, I am the explorer. There are 2 key things that I explore. The first one is to have antenna and at all times and scan the environment for any signals for emerging issues or an early warning of change, for instance. This because these very first symptoms of possible change can help your risk or opportunities and help us to leverage on it before it becomes a trend and later a mainstream phenomena. So how can we spot these weak signals? There can be both formal and informal sources. I find weak signals in the comment section on a blog, for instance, or even over casual conversations that my friend might make at a dinner overnight. So a weak signal can be a new perspective on a known subject. For instance, the travel ban back in March resulted in an overnight loss of income for workers in the tourism industry, as we know. However, for one innovator, this innovative travel agent owner, it was quite the opposite. He was busy. He was busy running his virtual travel experiences in the country. So this signal, what does this mean for the tourism industry in the coming years? A weak signal can also be surprising, something that is not significant but requires time to mature. For example, a few shops started live streaming, during the first lockdown phase. A signal such as this can pave pathways for a trend to an immersive, real-time, engaging shopping experience. Likewise, the pandemic also attracted young adults to become farmers, to grow more, to satisfy the demand. These kind of signals are opening pathways towards possible self-sufficiency. But there is, of course, a lot of sense making that's required with these signals, especially in relation to the broader ecosystem. In this case, questions like, will the economy re-globalize or relocalize post-COVID becomes fundamental. To the second, because predicting improving always point towards positive alternatives. Many of them are signs of dangerous futures. For example, COVID-19, when school closed due to pandemic, these are some signals that I scanned. I heard my mother say that there were few parents in rural areas who discontinued their children's education as they were not able to afford smartphones for the e-learning sessions. I also heard a portion of young urban dwellers, but they were actually moving back to villages. Likewise, the informal workers, where there was so many media coverage that they were the hardest hit due to COVID-19 crisis. So, what are the consequences of this signals? Well, we can do exercises on the futures wheel. We can contemplate on what the direct and indirect implications are, what current plan. We can assess what the existing current plans and policies could be disrupted if these signals became a trend in future. What are we anticipating? What should we anticipate? The ultimate objective of these two explorations is for us to be at a strategic advantage, and that we begin to consider actions that might need to be taken now to avoid or prepare for the challenges and opportunities emerging in the future. With this, I'd like to end my presentation. Over to you, Kunzang. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suki. So before I actually move into the presentation, sorry, just give me 1 second. Before I actually go into the presentation of explaining what the role of solution mapper is, I'd like to bring your notice to this particular slide where this is a very famous quote by a very famous British author called John Le Carre, and he says, "A desk is a dangerous place from which to view the world." And and this is a guiding principle for mappers like myself, and I think it's not just limited to mappers, the solution mappers, but extends beyond to the planners, the decision makers, the local innovators. If you sit behind a desk and assume a lot of things, we may not really be in a position to identify solutions that may be relevant for addressing these for tackling these challenges. So this is a guide that has guided me so far, that has given me direction so far, and will continue to guide me going forward. So my role, as the title says, it's head of solutions mapping. So what I basically do is map solutions, and I would do that through this. While there are so many other key functions as a solution mapper, but these are the 4 key functions that I'll be really focusing on. So as a solution mapper, what would I do? I would have 2 sets of eyes. One set of eyes that is more internal facing, and one set that's more external facing. So internally, but when we talk about these 4 functions, it will be inclusive of both internal and external facing. So the first role would be in terms of community immersion. Within the UNDP and Accelerator Lab, we strongly believe that people who are very who live the challenges and the issues day in day out have the capability and the potential to come up or develop solutions for those issues that they encounter firsthand. So the idea is to actually really engage myself, and immerse myself within the communities to really understand what the issues are, and also to deep dive into the issues, and also look at how these communities interact. But when I talk about community within this context, it's not just about immersing myself within the Dongkhags or within the Gyeogs or within the villages, but the community within when I talk about community, it expands beyond that to include the youth groups and also the CBOs, any local innovators who are engaged in this innovation ecosystem. And the second role would be field research and system level analysis. What we are trying to do within the UNDP is that we are trying to shift from coming up with band-aid solutions, trying to understand the issue at the surface level, and then coming up with band-aid solutions, very temporary solutions. Rather, we are trying to move away from that and shift into a mindset that is looking at the issue from a systems lens, and then coming up with with solutions, a portfolio of solutions that will look at that will sort of target towards triggering systems change. So field research, mainly through ethnographic research, really living with the communities to understand what the issues are, deep diving into the issues, and then seeing how these communities actually interact within themselves and within the system. How do they interact with the system also? And the next one is, as I mentioned earlier, we very, very strongly believe that people closest to the issues are the ones who can come up with solutions, who have the potential to come up with solutions. So this is where we promote the user-led innovation, because people who so this is basically what we're trying to look at is, identifying solutions which are closest to these people, and then looking at the potential of expanding these solutions. And lastly, my role would be, internally and externally networking within the innovation ecosystem in Bhutan, and going beyond that, as my colleague Sonam and Azusa mentioned, going beyond that to, interact with these 91 other labs. So these, 60 of them have been have been existing for over a year now. So there's so much to learn from them. So this is where my networking, my function to network comes in. So just to give you a very, when we talk about solutions mapping, just to give you a very, bird's eye view of what we're talking about. So this is the local solutions. Why we believe that there are no big or small solutions. Any solution that will help us address the issue at hand is a solution. So these are some of the local solutions we managed to come across, when we went around the country, different districts. So if you look at this young chap here, he is a Sangye. I'm sure you all have seen him. His story was covered in Kunzang. So he's a young local innovator, who is now working on developing a smart walking stick that will have a voice command to, and it will actually help the visually impaired. So this is what I was talking about when I talked about user-led innovation. Sangye is a young, local innovator who is also, living with disability. So because he's living with disability, so he really understands what the challenges are. So that's where his idea of coming up with the smart walking stick came about. And these are some of the, the photos that you see on the slide are very, maybe these are not like, the solutions that we find in, solutions we find developed in fancy labs and, Silicon Valley, but these are something that is very contextualized to the Bhutanese economy. So these are some of the local solutions. If you look at this this one over here, it's a hydraulic pump which actually helps us, take water from the river to the villages. So these are some things that's already existing, and as a solution mapper, my role is also to see whether these are these have the potential to be further expanded on. And going beyond the borders, these are some solutions that, as I mentioned earlier, some of the solutions that has already been sourced by our friends in the other 91 labs, mainly the friends in the earlier 60 labs. While Bhutan may be a little different, not little, but Bhutan may be different from other countries in terms of our geographic size or population size. But we all know that, the kind of 21st century challenges that all the countries face are very similar. Not just Bhutan, but globally, many countries are facing similar issues related to unemployment or, waste or urbanization. So we can already see, there are so many people working on finding, solutions for these issues. If you look at the slide, the first one here, you can already see, people who have, local innovators who have come up with this idea of floor tiles fabricated from plastic. And then we also have roof tiles fabricated from plastic. So these are all to address waste issue. Then we have this plastics recycled into roads in Nepal. And we do have similar initiatives here in Bhutan, a Green Roads Initiative, who is working on something similar. And then we can also see, this is in Namibia, where this the company is looking at, the company is actually developing, producing chicken feed from seaweed. Similarly here also, this is Sarga Block, young innovator in Mexico who is using this sargassum seaweed to make building blocks. And if you look at this picture, this house is actually built from those blocks. So we can already see that there are so many solutions already developed in in other countries. So it's not like when you talk about innovation, we always need to when we talk about solutions, we need to come to, we need to reinvent the wheel. So So these are some things that we can always leverage on the 91 other labs, the potential in the 91 other labs. So with this, I would like to just urge all my colleagues who are watching us live on Facebook and on Zoom to, do join us in this journey to accelerate development through these locally sourced solutions to tackle the 21st century complex development challenge with the Accelerator Lab. Thank you very much.
So, good morning. This is Kunzang. I'm the head of experimentation. So, as the other speakers said, what do? We test, learn, and adapt. And how do we do that? Through experimentation. We take ideas from the sensing, from the solutions, the portfolio of ideas. Then we design those ideas into testable hypotheses. So small, breaking those big complex challenge into small testable ideas. Then we prototype those ideas. We co-create with the people who are near the issue. Then we reiterate the whole process. And why do we do that? We want to de-risk large-scale investment. So before we put in any investment, we test those ideas and see whether it holds true and whether it really addresses the need of the people at the grassroots or people who are actually facing the issue. And also, we are also trying to embrace the culture of testing and learning. So to take an example from the 3 frontier challenges that we have, we are into the phase of experimentation in waste management in Thimphu. Of course, it's like complementing the waste flagship, as Dashutinda said. So waste segregation behavior in Thimphu. So if you see here on the right side, we have all the trash there, including baby diapers. And there is also the waste collection issues that the picture shows up. How do we do that? We do that ethnographic research. We do that from waste journey mapping. Then we test hypotheses, we gain insights, and we also create with the people. So we are working with NEC closely. We also have worked with unemployed youths who are involved in DSUP through NECS. And if you look at the right-hand side, the waste management from the ethnographic survey that we did, it also shows that there's constraint of space in Thimphu especially. So small houses, small apartments having issue with waste. Why do we do that? As other speakers have rightly pointed out, we are trying to understand the whole system approach of the waste and also take chunks from there to test the ideas and test the solutions that can be of a systematic transformation. Then we also take into consideration the twin points. So this is one of the picture from the stakeholder meeting. We are also learning from other countries. So from Vietnam, we are all closely working with them to learn from them, to see the process on the experimentation. Again, as our colleagues have already pointed out, this is not a linear process. It is a iterative process. We test, we learn, and we adapt. How do we do that? We sense, we explore, we test the ideas, and we grow together. So learning from those, we put into the other solutions, we sense from there, and then we test those ideas. Thank you, thank you very much. Over.
Thank you, team, for the presentation. Just to inform everyone that we would be taking questions relating to the A Lab in the upcoming Ask Us Anything session. For this, myself and Bishnu would be sharing our journey so far as part of the innovation team in UNDP. So the innovation team comprises of 3 team members from Accelerator Lab and the Youth Collab team, which would be me and Bishnu. So first I would be presenting on the Waste Frontier Challenge, followed by Bishnu, who would be presenting on the Youth Unemployment Frontier Challenge. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, Sonam.
Thank you. So waste is an emerging issue in Bhutan. Without proper infrastructure and systems in place, the waste issue will only worsen with time, with open dumping, and the landfills are already reaching their capacity level. The government has also given this complex problem high priority with identifying waste management and stray dog population as one of the few flagship programs. Within the country office, the environment portfolio is the biggest, and this presented an opportunity for the innovation team to support the portfolio in exploring potential solution in waste law. So I would be talking on our on our journey for the Waste Frontier Challenge. So far, what we have done and the key next steps. Um, Having that waste is one of the most important challenge in mind, we had our first social innovation workshop on waste, where we tried to look beyond just providing infrastructure to tackle the issue law. We collaborated with National Environment Commission, and we had 37 participants joining virtually as it was during the first lockdown law. The outcome of the workshop was that behavior change of people concerning waste was very important law. While we can provide infrastructure, but we needed to change people's mental model as well. Moving on, after the workshop, the core team comprising of JNHC, NEC, as well as UNDP decided to carry out a behavior insights experiment on waste. We are guided by an international consultant from Behavior Insights Australia, who are the leading social experiment entity. While the team out here would be carrying out all the necessary field study. As Kunzang mentioned, the first step in conducting experimentation was to know the ground reality. We carried out ethnographic research in Changzamto, targeting around 60 households through 20 innovators who were young Desubs. On 11 December, we had consultation meeting with service providers for us to understand some of their pain points to inform our ethnographic study. After both ethnographic study and stakeholder consultation, we now have a baseline report that gives us key findings from ethnographic research. Some of the findings were shared by Kunzang. Next, currently we are now in co-designing the social experimentation with NEC, Timputromde, as well as GNHC. And once we finalize the experimentation design, we would soon be initiating the implementation of it. Going forward, we look for opportunities to partner with agents of change to bring about systemic and behavior change on the waste. So once the experiment is completed, we would have a report of shared policy insights that will inform the waste flagship. So that is the waste journey so far. Now I would like to invite Bishnu.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. The second frontier challenge that we are working on in collaboration with GNHC and other concerned stakeholders is the systems approach to youth unemployment in Bhutan. What is a systems approach? Just to hit refresh, this ancient story of 6 blind men touching an elephant is a perfect analogy to understand the systems approach. So what happens here is each blind man feels a different part of the elephant's body, but only one part. A man who touches the tail perceives it as a rope. A man who touches the trunk perceives it as a snake. Likewise, ear as a footmate, leg as a tree trunk, and body as a wall, not necessarily understanding that what they're perceiving is just a part of the whole, which is an elephant. Similarly, in our case, an elephant is youth unemployment. where many stakeholders with best of intentions are working hard to solve the unemployment. However, we are lacking to see it through systems lens, where best of our interventions are thrown back to square one or with little progress. As per the Canopy framework, challenges can be categorized into four: simple, complicated, complex, and chaotic. And youth unemployment falls under complex challenge. Unlike for simple and complicated challenges, there is no such called best practices or silver bullet for the complex challenge. We have overall unemployment at 3.4%, particularly youth unemployment at 15.7%, which is alarming. Strong demographic dividend, half the population is below the age of 27. Dual challenge of tackling existing unemployment and also creating jobs for increasing number of young people entering the job market. And there is this interplay of diverse stakeholders, 8 government ministries, over 30 departments, 12 autonomous agencies, and working directly and indirectly for youth unemployment. Then we also have 20 Zonkoks and 205 Gyoks who has the job creation mandate with fiscal decentralization, and with COVID has made us realize that it is dynamic and evolving in unpredictable ways, with young people being laid off more frequently. Overall, the challenge cuts across boundaries. It is beyond the capacity of any one organization or sector to respond to it effectively, and hence it is a complex challenge and needs a systems approach. Well, if we are to find leverage that would find and bring about major changes for youth unemployment issue, so where do we intervene? Like the iceberg, what we see on the surface, which is just 20% of its whole mass, there is this 80% which is not visible below the surface. Youth unemployment is just a tip of the iceberg. Gamut of forces underneath which contributes to the issue is something unrealized or unattended. The deeper we go from the surface, that is from understanding the patterns to understanding the mental models, higher the chances of leverage for greater transformation. This map highlights two sets of domains, direct and contextual domain, which impacts on youth employment. The direct domains are those that have a more great influence on youth unemployment outcomes, and contextual domains are those that influence the entire system and shape the direct domains. And how we usually just see the youth unemployment problem as a small rectangle in the middle of the map, a question of simply matching a people to our job opportunities, whereas this map allows us to zoom out and think about multiple larger systems and deep long-term drivers of the system's dynamic. After numerous consultations with different stakeholders, including youths themselves, we have come up with this sets of solutions, considering the problem narratives we have at different levels. On the y-axis, you can see the types of experiments: cultural, technological, and there's governance, there's regulatory experiments, which is further synthesized into individual capacity, collective capacity, and systems capacity on the x-axis. Here, the bottom line is, how do we shift from single point solution to designing portfolios that requires us to develop new capabilities for working through and with complexity? Moving forward, we would like to invite all the concerned stakeholders in co-designing and running the experiment so that we succeed as a team, and in case happen to fail, we learn it together as a team. Our journey so far. It has been almost a year since we have kick-started this initiative with GNSC. Currently, we are done with phase 2, exploring the possibility space and finding the leverage. The bigger question is what next? In phase 3 and 4, we would be running a portfolio of experiments with learn and adapt mechanisms inbuilt. Indeed, the entire process is an iterative one, not a linear dead-end process. Please mark your calendar. On 28th of this month, we will be publishing intelligence report on systems approach to youth unemployment in Bhutan, a digital version which will be available on UNDP Facebook page and other social media pages. So I'll stop here, and this is your presenter, Bishnu Chettri. Over to you, Sonam. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bishnu. Now we have Ask Us Anything session. I would like to inform everyone to either raise your hand virtually or type the question in the chat box, and participants from Facebook can send their questions in comment section. We would be taking very limited question in the interest of time. So I would also like to request my other moderators to kindly monitor any questions. Any questions? We do have one question. Can we assume youth unemployment problem with capability of youths, or where are the loopholes? So any of the team member would like to answer the question?
Sonam, if I may come in.
Yes, La.
Thank you very much for the question. Can we assume youth unemployment problem with capability of the youths? This is something that we have been. This is very much in line with the systems approach that we're taking towards the youth unemployment challenge in Bhutan, because we feel that as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, if you're going to look for solutions, then you need to engage the people who are experiencing the issue firsthand. And accordingly, I think especially the youths in Bhutan are the key are the key actors who are actually experiencing unemployment firsthand. So we definitely look at youth as the most potential partner to come up with solutions that will help them address that will help us address this issue firsthand. In terms of the loopholes, I think we did through the systems mapping work, as Bishnu presented earlier. We did try to look at the unemployment issue from multidimensional lens, and there are a lot of be it from the social norms, or be it from the job or the microeconomy lens. There are lots of loopholes. I think the time is very limited for us to highlight on the loopholes here. But as Vishnu mentioned earlier, we do the intelligence report, which will be highlighting on these loopholes, will be available end of this month. So please do tune in for that report. Thank you.
Any more questions? Have one from Sangeet Dorjila. How can the Accelerator Lab support the RGB in fulfilling the royal command of improving the civil service?
May I come in, Sonam? Yeah.
Yes, La.
Yeah. So thank you, Sangeet, for the question. So in terms of the civil service and improving the civil service, we are, as Madam Azusa said, we are in touch with RCC, UNDP, and we are also looking into this, bringing in the mindset of innovation and doing things differently in the civil service, and maybe in terms of changing the design of how we do things could be one area that we can look into. And to acknowledge some of the innovation that RCC has already done. RCC has introduced design thinking, coaching, mentoring into the civil service. So maybe going forward, those could be some of the areas that could be escalated and scaled up. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunzang. So there's one question from Facebook. So I will be reading that. For waste management, are you all considering imposing fine and penalty on defaulters? So I would like to invite any team members to kindly answer the question.
So thank you, Sonam. Since two of us are working on waste, So in terms of imposing fines, so that's a regulatory perspective that the government agency, NEC, would be the right agency to answer. As for UNDP partnering with the NEC, we are looking into the waste, the 3 colored bins, the feedback system that the people get, and from the ethnographic studies, as I pointed out, the waste collection issue was also one of the pain points that the households have pointed out. So those are the areas that we are looking into. But in terms of fine, maybe NEC would be the right agency to answer.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I would be moving forward. Now we have Dr. Tshering Wangmo, who is a local innovator, and Doctor has been active in bringing innovation in agriculture field. So may I request Doctor to kindly unmute himself and present.
Hello.
Yes, Doctor, we can hear you.
I don't have so much very good network because I'm streaming from my mobile phone. Can you hear?
Yes, Doctor, we can hear you.
La?
Yes, Doctor, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
First of all, Your Excellency, the Minister of Economic Affairs, RR UNDP Bhutan, the Secretary JNSC, the Chairperson RCC, UNDP Innovator Team, and good. It is my great pleasure and honor to be the part of this important event, the launch of UNDP Accelerator Lab in Bhutan. Based on my understanding, I believe that one of the main objectives of UNDP Accelerator
Doctor, we can't hear you.
Lab is to bring collaboration and have this opportunity to share few slides on some of the innovations that are particularly initiated by the Agriculture Research and Development Center at Venkarla. To begin with, I have few slides, so I have to go to share more. The first is on, we have been working on the fabricated electric fence system to manage human-wildlife conflict. As we all know that crop damage by wild animal is one of the most important human-wildlife conflict in Bhutan, especially for the rural communities. It is one of the main cause of the fallowing of agricultural land, low productivity, and also cause of rural-urban migrations. So starting from 2006, we have been developing a low-cost fabricated electric fence system using locally available materials. It is found to be very effective and low-cost solution. However, it took some time to upscale the technology to the wider communities due to some legal and some bureaucratic issues. However, problem was solved in 2014 when the parliament legalized the usage of the electric fence in the country. Now it has been widely used across the country to manage wildlife crop damages in the agriculture at present. Next is on the development of smart irrigation system using open source resources, both software and hardware. Also, we all know that Bhutan is rich in freshwater resources. However, due to the effect of climate change and rapid urbanization, the clean water resources is diminishing and becoming difficult to access. It is often not able to harness water resources for use in agriculture, even where the water is abundant. Therefore, we have been developing a smart irrigation system using the open source solutions. Smart irrigation is an IoT-based irrigation system. The hardware that we use are all open source and low cost, such as Raspberry Pi, Arduino, ESP8266, which are low cost solution. It uses a real-time data such as temperature, humidity, rainfall, and soil moisture to control the irrigation system. It has a high water saving and utilization efficiency of about 80 to 90%. Able to access the irrigation system through internet and mobile apps, which reduce the labor cost. And it has a capacity to irrigate a large agricultural land. Both software and hardware can be produced in Bhutan. At present, it has been promoted in many large commercial farms in Bhutan. And such technology are found to be very useful during COVID-19 lockdown situations. Next is on the development of IoT-based water management system for municipal and rural water supply, also using the open source resources. It is also an IoT-based water management system which can be accessed through internet and mobile apps. At present, Mongar Municipal and Kankar Gyok are installed with this system for last 2 years and found to be very effective and useful. Again, both software and hardware can be produced in Bhutan. Next is on the development of hydroponic control and management system, also using the open source resources. Recently, to attract youth in the agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture and Forest is promoting a high-tech agriculture such as hydroponic and protected agriculture system. Such systems requires a lot of automation devices, which are very expensive in the market. So we have been able to develop a IoT-based hydroponic control and management system locally. Next is on the development of bioacoustic repellent devices to minimize human-wildlife conflict. This is based on the use of animal natural communication language such as warning, distress, and predatory calls to repel the nuisance animals from the target sites. We have been testing these devices in different villages in the east and found to be very effective, especially monkey, which are not deterred by electric fence. The next is on the development of agriculture chatbot, and this is recently we have been working on this activity. We call it this agri chatbot. Agri chatbot is nothing but a virtual a virtual assistant device like Amazon Alexa, which will be interacted with user through social media such as Facebook, WhatsApp, and Telegram to perform certain activities related to agriculture. For example, such as reporting temperature, humidity, soil moisture, soil pH, and carry out certain functions like irrigation, heating, and cooling of greenhouses. We have completed the development of some prototypes which are under testing at present. Uh, so with these few slides, I conclude my presentation and looking forward to collaborate and explore opportunity with the UNDP Accelerator Lab for future works on the grassroots innovations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor, for sharing your innovations. And now I would like to invite Kezang Om, who is a social entrepreneur, and she's currently working closely with YDF to train youths in social entrepreneurship. Like Kezang, the floor is yours.
Hello, a very good morning to you all. Am I audible?
Yes, Kezang.
Yeah. Okay. Great, thanks. A very good morning to you all, Your Excellency Lampoloknath, Madam Azusa, Resident Representative UNDP, Dr. Secretary GNSC, Dr. Chairperson RCSC, and the entire UNDP innovation team, and to all the viewers on Facebook and Zoom, a very good morning to you all. Before I start off my presentation, let me congratulate UNDP for the successful launch of your A-Lab. With that, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Yeah. So Innovate Bhutan, this is a very unique project, collaborative project, unique in the sense that this is a collaboration between an NGO and an entrepreneur, NGO being YDF, and entrepreneur being myself. I run a management training institute called Institute for Learning Solutions. So the two stakeholders, YDF and myself, have come together to start a project called Innovate Bhutan. So what Innovate Bhutan does is we promote social entrepreneurship. And these are the 5 programs that we have. The first one that we have is called iSprint. Now, iSprint is it's a 5-day innovation program, and there we try to focus on the fundamentals of social entrepreneurship and innovation to all our participants. So they come with little or no knowledge on entrepreneurship. So we groom them, we explore social entrepreneurship to them, we explore innovation with them. And from there, we go to iStart. Now, in our iStart is more in depth. It's a 6-week long program. So participants from iSprint, once they get once they understand, once they get the energy, the vibe of entrepreneurship, they would want to learn more from the 5-day program. So that's where they introduced to our iStart, which is 6 weeks long program. There they get in-depth entrepreneurial knowledge. We try to connect them with relevant stakeholders. The methodology or the tool that we use in our program is design thinking, which is being led by Mr. Kile from YDF on design thinking. That's the main tool of our Innovate Bhutan. The other program that we have is on iConsult. Now, iConsult, being an entrepreneur myself, I know that how difficult it is to have a mentor when you're in this when you're an entrepreneur without a mentor. It's very easy for you to feel lost. So understanding that, we have iConsult where we connect the mentors with the mentees, because sometimes a mentee might need help or assistance in the field of tech. Sometimes they might need in the field of branding. Sometimes they might need in the help of building personal competency. So that's where iConsult comes in to connect the mentors with the mentees. Now, iCreate is our co-working space, green co-working space where like-minded people can come, enhance creativity, innovation. This is just an environment where a platform where people can talk aloud about their crazy ideas, about their pain points, and have no judgment in return, but rather encouragement and enhancement. And iVenture, our last one of our last but certainly not the least, is our iVenture, where we're trying to connect innovators, people, our participants with very innovative ideas, connecting them with people who has capital, so we get a very blended outcome. Just before in the morning, UNDP Sumshuki had done a poll, and where it found out that, if I'm not mistaken, 32% said that platform was needed for innovation, and that is where we're hoping that Innovate Bhutan could come in and provide our iCreate. So to talk about some of our programs. So these are just some few pictures that I thought would be relevant to share in this platform. Recently, we conducted an iSprint program in collaboration with innovation program. One unique thing about this program is that planning officers, the local challenges that the Dzongkhas were going through. They came in and they shared about the local challenges. So the participants had the opportunity to innovate, to come up with a possible solution. Now, these participants were all high school graduates. Most of them were high school graduates. So the fact that these participants were able to come up with a possible innovative solution to the local challenges of Punakha and Wandi, it's a proof that our youth, they have the drive, they have the knowledge, they understand the pain point, but rather they need somebody like Innovate Bhutan, if I may say so myself, to give them a push or give them a pat at the back, saying that, the pain that you have, the realization that you have can become a social enterprise. And the one at Wandi, some of the programs, some of the entrepreneurs, businesses that came out one was on e-waste. One of our participants realized that there was a lot of e-waste being generated at Wandi. So he wanted to start up a business to control that e-waste, to recycle it. Another participant realized that there was a lot of power tiller maintenance was needed at his local, at his community in Punakha, and he wanted to start a workshop of maintenance for the power tillers. Another one wanted to start a bouquet business in Punakha, having the experience of having flower gardens in a large scale, and now he wanted to promote it. So innovation right now may not be rocket science, may not be something really grand and tech driven like it's visible in the third countries, but innovation does not necessarily have to be rocket science, but it can be local. And like Osiri said in the beginning, innovation, if that can solve local challenges, then I think it is fulfilling its purpose. So thank you so much, UNDP, for giving iBhutan this opportunity to present about our programs, our work, and our thought on innovation on this platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Keza, for sharing your work. We'll now have another round of polls. And I would like to apologize to our Facebook viewers. The poll is only for Zoom attendees. So I would be again launching another poll. You will have 30 seconds to answer the poll. The first question was, if we could promote one sector to build back better from COVID, which sector should it be? So almost 42% have answered agriculture, followed by 28% that is education, and then 14% said tourism la, and 8% said environment la. The next question was, which area should the Accelerator Lab focus on going forward? The first most voted was technological innovation, followed by grassroots innovation, then economic growth and public sector innovation, making it tied. So I would be sharing the results. Now moving on forward, we have the results for the much awaited ideation contest. So UNDP, in order to encourage local innovators and to give them a platform to express their ideas, like Dr. Tshering as well as Kezang hosted an ideation contest. We had more than 60 participants with great ideas, but we had to choose 3 candidates for a winner, which was a very tough call for the team. Once again, we would like to thank all the local innovators who took part in it. Now I'm going to pass it on to Choki to take us through this.
Thank you, Sonam. So from the 62 ideas that we received in just 7 days, majority, they were male. Everyone was at least a high school graduate, and most of them had a graduate degree. We did receive applications from a range of occupational groups, as you may observe, from business to unemployed, from civil service to students. And majority of these ideas were under the category of environment. We had many solutions on waste management. This was followed by agriculture, transforming agriculture, from smart irrigation to having a design thinking platform for farmers. We also, and this was again followed up by the domain of health, where we had ideas on manufacturing masks to fitness classes and so on. So yes, a big shout out to all those 62 applicants. These are the top 10 words used most frequently in the 62 proposals for the question. So we had a question in the application form, and the question was, what do you want to achieve with your idea? And the most recurrent word was public, to help the public, to assist the public, to be renowned in the country. Secondly, third, to generate employment opportunities. Fourth, to make an impact. Fifth, to make a systemic change, not only change in a siloed, but a change in the system, in the ecosystem. Sixth, on data, the ideas always had some data component in it. 7 was also to do with the increasing or improving the capabilities, the knowledge. 8, to again on a lot on environment, to improving the environmental, on improving the health and well-being of words being used in all the 62 proposals. Now, besides the 3 winners that we have with us today, we would also like to have special mentions of few of the innovators. I mean, we like to thank Thandin Chopil for his smart irrigation system. We would like to again also have a mention of Dipendra. He proposed this idea of using a 3D modeling software to profile traditional architecture, waste segregation. And of course, finally, as mentioned by Tsusa, our youngest participant who wanted to set up a gym machine. So I have actually here with me the prototype that he drew. So with this, I'd now like to invite Dema Choki, who is one of the idea winners. She is a recent graduate and she's unemployed, but she's very passionate about creating an inclusive society. So over to you, Dema.
Thank you, La. Is it visible?
Yes, Fatima, please go ahead.
Thank you. Kunzang Wangmo, Your Excellency, Minister of Economic Affairs of Bhutan, distinguished guests, organizers, participants, and all the viewers, a very good morning. I am Sonam Choki, representing my group members from Electronic Voting System for Visually Impaired People. We would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity and platform. The upheaval of this pandemic has made us realize even more the importance of leadership in our society. The concept of liberal democracy has proven to be the best ruling form of government in the world so far, and active participation in election could greatly determine the systematic organization of the society. And it's one's fundamental right to vote in secrecy and with confidentiality. So why electronic voting system for visually impaired persons? Even though the right to vote through secret ballot is given to every individual in democratic world, such privilege is not there for people with visual impairment, since they need to be escorted to the voting compartment, mainly due to the system that do not have a special feature embedded in it to facilitate independent voting and thus discouraging mass turnout. And it is a matter of concern on their humanitarian ground. If one vote could make a difference, we have got to appreciate this large number of 1,328 people living with some kind of visual impairment in our country. As per the news, visually impaired call for an alternative voting system for them. Positively, the technological evolution has that ability of bringing everyone together and making most of the things possible. By devising technological solutions, we can inclusively participate in election process, and that's the sensible beauty we are creating here. So the aim of this project is to build electronic voting system featuring audio interaction for visually impaired persons. The audio will be passed through the headset for better secrecy. Now, if we look at the outside world, in India's 2018 election, they used Braille to write the names of the candidate, and in Israel, a spectacle with artificial vision can read the names of the candidate to the voters. But for us, with our knowledge and resources at our reach, we found using audio interaction with the set of buttons to the voters a most user-friendly and achievable method. And it is even compatible with the existing conventional EVM machine used in our country. So this is the blueprint block diagram for our project. We made this prototype with the available materials at our best reach. It consists of two units, the control unit designed for the operators and the ballot unit for the voters. The control unit houses all the electric circuits of this system and 3 sets of buttons. By accessing this reset button, the system erases the memory of the system and sets the system for use. This control button has that ability of controlling the ballot unit and with the special feature of preventing double voting. We can view the final result using this result button. When it comes to the ballot unit, the voters can listen to the names of the candidate using this set of buttons passed through the headset. Once the right candidate is found, the voter can vote using this set of buttons aligned respectively in the another column. We can still work to make this system a robust and a real-time project. Since it is a non-profitable idea, we want to serve our beneficiaries with humanity and give them a sense of inclusivity and belongingness in society, because together we are always stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Dema, for a very inclusive innovation idea. It's very encouraging to see young people talking about persons with disabilities. Now we have Funso to present his idea on an online education feedback system called Kongsela. Funso, the floor is yours. Funso, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Good morning to everyone on this Zoom call and everyone watching on Facebook. My name is Finso and I currently work as a software developer at Timpo Tech Park. And my idea, as Sonam Choki said, is about education. So this will be another screen share. Please bear with me. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, Funso.
Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Okay. So at the age of 88, on his deathbed, Michelangelo says, "I am still learning." He says, "I am still learning." We are all aware that learning is a continuous process, right? We learn today, we'll learn tomorrow, and we have learned in the past. And yet, our education system is unable to capture a student's academic development, their learning progress throughout their schooling years. To make matters worse, our Bhutanese students have been learning with the most minimal and poor feedback in schools. The only feedback that I personally can remember is the end of the year examination report. And quite honestly, that report just told me how much information I could memorize weeks before the exam, rather than how I have progressed and what I've learned. Our education system has a very blanket approach, a one size fits all. We all know that different students learn differently and they need help differently. So what we need is something that can capture a student's continuous learning development that is more than just exam grades. We need to equip our students with real-time feedback. An examination report at the end of the year, that's too late. And yes, customizing and personalizing learning for each individual student is difficult. And it's definitely difficult when you're teaching 30 to 40 students in a class. And this is exactly where I believe that technology can help. I present to you Kongse. Kongse is a learning site powered by machine learning that continuously tracks your progress throughout your schooling years. So before we talk about how Kongse does that, it's very important to know what Kongse is made of. So Kongse will have learning materials of all grades. So right now we're only focused on high school. So it'll have learning materials on all the high school grades that are not just limited to text, but there are also videos and all other types of resources. Students will be able to study and get resources on particular topics and even subtopics within a subject within just a click of a button. That's how fast it is. Students can get instant feedback on what they're learning, where there are places for improvement, and where there are places where they're relatively strong. And what Kongse does with that information is, if you have been using the same resource and showing very minimal improvement, it'll suggest you different resources. So Kongse is always listening, always adapting to the student's needs. Students can also have practice exams that imitate real exam environments. And these practice exams capture exactly the places where you need to improve and places where you can relax a little bit. Our students on Kongse are not just learning, but there's also a forum where they can collaborate with other students, right? So they can help out the other peers. So it's not all about learning, it's also about helping out other people and learning together. And while a student is doing this, while using Kongse, Kongse is not just going to look at the student, at that particular student. Kongse will also look at all the other students that are very similar to this particular student, look at all the similarities and all the resources and things that work for other students that are similar to this students in the past or even current, and then suggest those resources to the current student. And this is the beauty of Kongse. In doing all that, making it irresistible for students to use Kongse every year, using those data that we've collected. For instance, just simply looking at, oh, how did this student study, for example, math subject? How long did it take him to cover all those math topics? What are the resources that he watched? For how long did he watch those resources? And then you look at those data from the previous years, and then you look at the data this current year, look at how long he's spending time on this subject. And with that, we are able to capture how a student is progressing and learning over the years. So we actually developed a very, very tiny component of Kongse so this was aimed at students appearing for RCSC preliminary exam. We just wanted to see how receptive people were. We just wanted to test the waters, right? Mind you that this had very, very rudimentary features compared to what we envisioned Kongse to have. So what are the features that this had? So we allowed students to have practice exams. There was tutorial videos. There was also it also enables students to see where their weaknesses were, where their strengths were. And we also allowed easy access to particular topics and subtopics within a subject. And additionally, we only provided this for 2 subjects. So usually RCSC preliminary, they have 4 subjects, right? So math, English, data interpretation, and Zonka. But for our convenience, we only provided math and English. And before we go into the statistics, it's very important to remember that there was no advertisement or marketing of any sort for this product for Kongse. It was all word of mouth. And this product was made public just about a month and a half before the exam. So we really were working with very limited time. Taking all this into account, 440 users from 19 Zongkaks studying in 40 colleges across 6 different countries has showed us that our students are very receptive and they're very eager for such a product. Currently, this is the number of such product and system that exist in our market right now. Kongse truly is the pioneer in this, and we have no doubt that this will be of tremendous benefit to the student, to our education system, and to our nation. We want to help our students thrive in schools, not just survive. Thank you.
Thank you, Funso, for a very interesting, for presenting your amazing idea, which integrates digitalization and improving education. We have a very interesting question for you from a Facebook viewer. They're asking why is your online platform named Kongtsila? If you could explain us why is your name.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. The name was very random, but in saying that, I don't want to minimize the importance that we gave to it. Randomness has such a big, huge influence. So our internet wouldn't work without the random numbers that are being generated. So randomness actually has so much influence over our lives. It's just our human arrogance that think that we have so much in control. So taking randomness into mind, that's how we named. So it's out of we just randomly named it.
Thank you, Funso. Now can I please invite Tandin, who is a consultant with an idea for an online app for City Bus. Tandin, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Kunzang Wangmo, Your Excellency Tengelumbo, Tashu Chairperson RCSC, Tashu Secretary GNHC, Honorable Resident Representative and Deputy RR, distinguished guests and viewers, team from the Accelerator Lab, fellow innovators and entrepreneurs. A very good morning to you all. My name is Tanin Doji and I'm an aspiring technopreneur. I currently operate a financial consulting firm called Drug Infinity Consulting, and I also operate an online recruitment portal called Elayuk. It was recently launched at DCSI's CSI Startup, CSI and Startup Product launch in December 18 last year. Today, on behalf of Team Drug Infinity, I would like to present to you all Charo app, which is a cross-platform mobile application that will give information about city buses in terms of its schedule, route, fare, and the live location. So now let me narrate a short story about how this idea transpired. My friend Funso, who single-handedly developed this mobile application, recently returned home after working and studying abroad for over 8 years. And after reaching back recently, he wanted to use the city bus, so he downloaded a mobile application for that. To his surprise, the app was dysfunctional. Even today, if we are to look for information online about city buses, or for that matter, pretty much quite a lot of things in our country, we would have very little success. So while he was still in the quarantine, he developed this app on his own. Later on, somehow we met and got to know each other, and after discussing for a while, we decided on taking forward this project together. So over the last few months, we have been working on improving this application, the features and functionalities of this mobile application. Then we have also been in consultation with stakeholders to take this app to the public. As of now, we are currently in discussion with the Thimphu Tromde and the city bus office to launch this app next month. Also, because this app will mostly be used by students and families from the low income bracket, we want to give this app free of cost to the users. That's why we are currently exploring alternate revenue models and also looking for opportunities to receive some grant and fund from organizations and government agencies to cover the development and maintenance cost of this application. In the long run, we have two objectives or aspirations out of this project. The first and the straightforward one is to really help in promoting public transportation in our country by, at least through this app, making the information about public transport easily accessible to the public. The second and the larger goal we have out of this project is to contribute to the digital revolution and transformation that's happening in our country. We wish to grow from this little startup of just 6 people to a large IT firm that creates decent jobs for our people and also contributes to revenue generation and earning foreign currency for our country. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Funso. Thank you, Tamsin, for your app, for sharing your app. It is very timely in times of COVID as well as beyond COVID, in transportation sector. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for sharing your idea as well as congratulate you. We are almost at the end of the event. May I now invite RCC Chairman Dasho Karma Hamudorji to kindly give her closing address.
Lasso, can you hear me?
Yes, Ladashu.
Yes. Your Excellency Limpo Loknath, Ms. Kubota, Resident Representative of the UNDP, Head of the UN Agency's Development Partners, Dash Secretary, GNH, UNDP team, ladies and gentlemen, Kuzizampola. I would like to thank all speakers ahead of me, especially the innovators, for their very insightful presentation and approaches. It is very encouraging and heartening to see the capabilities in our citizens, especially our youth, and we in the business of governance have to find ways to leverage it. As you all are aware, following His Majesty the King's 113th National Day address, RCC has been given an exceptional opportunity and challenge to reform and transform the civil service by His Majesty. Since then, we've been putting in long hours trying to get the groundwork ready, and we have prioritized that over every other task that we have in front of us. I'm happy to participate here today as I can see the direct linkages and complementarities between the Accelerator Lab's work vis-a-vis the kind of initiatives that we are considering for transforming the civil service. Today's civil servants are addressing problems of unprecedented complexities in societies that are more demanding than ever in a much more fluid situation, COVID pandemic notwithstanding. Modern societies are characterized by a great plurality of ideas, perspectives, needs, and expectations of what society should be, how government should behave, what kind of trade-offs between the individual and collective are desirable. Such differences make it difficult to reach a consensus across those impacted by problems and policy interventions. In such situations, there can be no absolute certainty of the best way forward, and resorting to more information gathering and scientific analysis may not result necessarily in a perfect solution. Instead, it is often suggested that interventions need to be based on adaptive, open, and networked approaches that bring diverse stakeholders together. This implies a skill set for civil servants based on public engagement, mediation, facilitation, and co-management of public solutions. Civil servants need to be innovative to redesign the tools of governance and develop novel solutions to persistent and emergent policy challenges. As you may have noticed, we have talked a lot about innovation throughout this entire session. And here I felt it was necessary to outline the frameworks for it and also define innovation. And I found the framework used by OECD very clear and user-friendly. So I will quote them. In its recent report, the OECD's recent report on fostering innovation in the public sector, it outlines the possible contours of 3 different and complementary approaches to civil service management. A professional civil service emphasizes transparent, fair, and merit-based management to ensure integrity and capacity. This is considered to be fundamental and foundational. The strategic view emphasizes forward-looking planning, data to understand current capacity, and agility to ensure human resources can be allocated efficiently to the highest areas of high and emerging need. A third layer, innovative HRM, looks at mechanisms to harness the creative potential of knowledge workers in the public sector to contribute new ideas and make innovation happen. The OECD's Observatory for Public Sector Innovation has defined 6 skills needed to drive more innovation. The first are technical in nature. Innovative civil servants need skills to approach their work in iterative ways that generate learning and adaptation over short periods of time. They need data skills in order to be aware of the potential of data and how to structure projects that collect and use data to inform and drive change. They need skills to be citizen-centric and to use a broad set of tools and methods to interact with their stakeholders and direct beneficiaries to understand their reality and design a service that meets their needs. The next 3 skills are more cognitive or behavioral in nature. Innovative civil servants need to be curious in order to search out opportunities to expand their own knowledge and understanding. Storytellers ready to leverage a range of tools to communicate with various stakeholders in ways that they can understand and engage with. And insurgents capable of effecting change in systems within which they work, able to know when to push, how to negotiate, fight, and/or compromise. Here, I would like to add that we need to shift our outlook from people as a workforce to people as a competitive force. I believe the accelerator labs are trying to provide such platforms to showcase and build such skills, competencies, and behaviors which gel very well with the innovative solutions that RCC seeks to promote. By way of information, I would like to state that amongst the many areas of transformation we are working on, service delivery aspects of government to citizen services is also one where we are working, and we would like to provide platforms to showcase innovation in the civil service, just like the way the survey has also indicated that. We believe that this will be synergistic with the work of the Accelerator Lab. It may also be of interest for all to know that RCC is also reviewing and developing a reward and recognition system for civil servants, and innovation and creativity will definitely be one of the parameters for assessment. In closing, I would like to state that we look forward to the outcomes of these accelerator labs, and we are definitely interested in seeing how we can leverage these learnings from these experiments and weave them across the civil service. I would like to thank UNDP for inviting me to be part of this launch and wish UNDP and the Accelerator Lab all success in your journey ahead. Kadinche.
Thank you, Dasha, for a very encouraging words. Lastly, I would like to invite Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP, Jürgen, to give vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, Dasha Secretary, Dasha Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to keep my vote of thanks short and informal. As all good things must come to an end, so has this beautiful event. On behalf of UNDP, I would like to take this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. At the outset, we thank Your Excellency Lumpo for his address on the economic recovery pathway for the country. As stated by His Excellency, we simply cannot go back to the pre-pandemic normal with its nature and climate destructive practices. We indeed have now an important window of opportunity for innovating a greener recovery from the pandemic, and the call to action is now in 2021. We would like to thank our distinguished speakers, Dasha Secretary GNHC, for sharing his insights on innovation in planning and policy making. Dr. Tshering Wangmo and Kunzang for putting your best efforts to share what innovation looks like in action. We are also grateful for the RCSC chairperson for giving her closing remarks. Dasha's presence here is timely as we look forward to take our collaboration forward. Our sincere appreciation to all the 62 applicants of the Innovation Idea Challenge. We have learned that such a competition is a compelling way of encouraging youth to generate ideas within a short span of time. The entire process entailed opportunities for tapping into collective intelligence. Such challenges are often the seeds of significant innovative solutions to solving societal problems and to promoting an innovation culture. While only 3 innovators could elaborate on their inspiring ideas today, appreciation goes to all competitors. Please keep innovating and implementing. We look forward to sustaining this innovation ecosystem together with you by paving ways for future partnerships. We would also like to extend our gratitude to all those who joined us online and for keeping this event interactive. Last not least, we hope that with the launch of UNDP's A-Lab, we establish a safe space to test new innovative ways of working, which in the long run become part of our everyday approach. We all have a role to play to give more space to youth and to support implementing ideas. Therefore, let me leave you with a thought-provoking quote from one of the world's smart innovators, Apple founder Steve Jobs, who is underscoring the importance of not only coming up with good ideas, but that the key is implementation. He said, "To me, ideas are worth nothing unless executed. They are just multipliers. Execution is worth millions." With this, thanks to you all and Tashi Dele.
Thank you, Jürgen, for your wise words, and thank you speakers as well as audience for making this a very lively and successful virtual launch. We look forward to be a knowledge partner as well as a service provider to any agency who wish to avail our services. Now, can I please request everyone to turn on their video so that we can take a closing picture? Can I also request Bishnu to take the picture?
Sure.
Bishnu, whenever you're ready, I guess we could smile.
Yes, Sonam, I'm good to go. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Let's thank you, everyone.
Let's thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you, La.
Thank you.
Thank you, La.
Thank you, La.